Chris Hutton here with another discussion interview on behalf of PMR Africa for this iteration with Henk van Bemmelen from Blue Security in KwaZulu-Natal. Henk, thanks so much once again for your time discussing some of your experiences, but also, of course, the work of Blue Security. Just to give a little bit of context before we jump into the meat and potatoes of the discussion and some gravy on top of that as well. Based on the survey on the KZN province conducted from February to April by PMR Africa, Blue Security will receive the following awards. In the business sector, security companies in the KZN province, Blue Security is highest rated on an overall rating of 4.24 out of a possible 5 and will receive the Diamond Arrow Award, highest rated in the sector. And secondly, in the category companies, institutions doing most to fight crime in the KZN province, Blue Security is highest rated on an overall rating of 4.2 out of a possible 5.0 and will receive the Diamond Arrow Award. Again, highest rated in the category. Henk, with all protocol observed and all of that out the way, just to start off with, I think important to talk a little bit about, of course, your own experiences, Blue Security. Maybe if you can highlight some of the challenges, some of the crises that you faced over the last year or two. Of course, the South African economy in quite a difficult space at the moment, so it might be easy to talk macro, but specifically for you and the company in the last 2 years, and then we'll get into dealing with those challenges and how to navigate some of those.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Chris. I think you've tapped on the one. The financial sector on the side is tough. I think everybody can feel a bit of a pinch around that. And we feel in a business, and you just need to work smarter and get more around that. A couple of challenges for the year in our business. It's always tough to fight crime. SAPS always tries their best. They're very helpful where they can be. And I think if I step back for the year, that's probably our biggest challenge is around how do we follow the next step with SAPS. And I think going forward, that will still be a challenge. We understand their challenges. Some of the issues they have is not by their default. It's just because of the system and the setup in it. And it makes things difficult for us too. Because you sort of almost want to take some of the stuff, control in our own hands, and we're not allowed to. You want to move quicker, and you can't move quicker. It's slow around catching criminals, prosecuting criminals, and having the same sort of local criminal coming through the system continuously that you're catching on quite a few stages in that. So I think from a business side, that's sort of the biggest challenge we find in our business, because it puts some enormous pressure on us. But for the rest of the business, we just put our heads down, we focus on our service, we focus on making a difference in the communities, and we just drive that. It's just the best we can.
Henk, you touched on now the successes. So I want to give you the space to maybe expand on any of those in the last year, any maybe practical examples to point to. I know people always want, people will attend workshops and they'll say, look at this leader and, he has vision and he communicates well, but you need to make these things practical. So can you point to any of those in the last year? I know it might be difficult in such a short time span, but is there anything maybe that jumped out to you?
Yeah, I think, our drive in our business we always had this basic service of response monitoring. You get an alarm installed, you respond to the alarm when it goes off, and that you assist the client where you need to do in that. And I think in the last 3 or 4 years, we went on this journey to say, the model of response monitoring is moving sideways, and it's starting to become, what does it look like getting to the community? Your house is the first layer. And I always say to clients, remember, your house is your first layer of security. And a lot of guys are starting to ignore that to say, but, I've got street cameras and I've got patrollers and I've got the security and I've got neighborhood watches and I've got it all. And they can't be everywhere at every time. So people, and this is a very important point, people must still remember you need a good alarm system, you need some CCTV around the house and that, because that's your first layer of your protection for you and your family and your property. But for this year, we really started pushing up our community side. We've got now probably about over 300 one of these lollipops installed into Durban. So that's massive. So we have a massive database that we monitor through the KZN, and it's all about driving into the community space to make a difference. But this year we really jacked up and we started up in a up highway Hillcrest area, and we call it our hood because we work in the same hood, and this is our hood, and it's quite nice and touchy and worked in it. And this is our hood's all about we're doing a massive investment in the area. Then we're gonna slowly move through the whole area to get through that. But our big thing this year is get down to community, get down to the street. We're putting in some smart cameras, very intelligent AI that's attached to these cameras, and that massive sniper cameras coming in and that to move vehicles around, guys that stolen vehicles or high hot list vehicles and that. And this is the idea this year. And we had some success already. We've got some areas where we've got some serious cameras installed, and we call them the Chuck Norris sites because they're like real Chuck Norris sites. And it's working. It's helping the community in it. We're narrowing it down. We've really spent time on our energy on our technology. We smartened them up quite well in that. Spend a lot of capex behind the scenes to build up these infrastructures. So yeah, this year's success is we got some good sites. We stuck in tactical. We brought in ambassadors, specialized units. And you can see the successes. If you go through our Facebook and our Instagram and our whole social media platform, you'll see all these things popping up, recovering cars, high-profile stolen equipment. So it's all starting to work in it. And all you do is you just distribute them away from the community. And we believe as soon as we can start getting all these cameras in the streets, in the communities, that's where we start. And that's where our success starts coming from that. But it takes some good technology, some good focus, and some good service on that.
Henk, it's probably one thing to have capable people in your organization, and then to also have the sort of equipment and infrastructure that you've mentioned. So new cameras, for example, having your hardware, but getting different things to talk to each other and making sure that the systems work well. So I want to ask you a bit about communication, effective communication within your organization, but then also then I guess externally. You mentioned this focus on community. Is there anything in that regard that you want to highlight, how one can ensure that communication happens effectively? We're seeing lots of challenges in our society at the moment around people not listening to each other, maybe. So maybe that's a bit reductionist, but how does one get people to not just listen to each other, but take it on board and then use it effectively in your organization?
Yeah. So I think for internal communication, we've been striving for that for a long time. Listen, you get your challenges. It's not always easy. But we got some good stuff running internal in our business where we look at communication. We focus a lot on our culture. We use external companies to actually measure our culture and do evaluations for us, where we're going wrong, what can we do different. And I've always believed, and I'm quite a people's person, as soon as you get that sort of culture right and you get the people moving in the right direction, then you build up from there. We have collaborations between departments a lot of our systems integrated. We've just upgraded to Microsoft Dynamics, so that gives us a massive room for better communication. Our control room management system works on a different platform that brings better connection. And so with all that, we've actually reshaped the whole business internally so that departments are overflowing each other. And that's how we sort of got it right inside. For our external side on our clients, we really connect well with our neighborhood watchers and commanders and the chairmen of certain project areas. And we just deal with them. We're using WhatsApp quite a lot, believe it or not. And we pump that through the system. And I think everybody sort of adapted that. And that's where we build this communication. Anything's happening, anything moving, we just feed information all the time. Sometimes we think we overfeed people, but rather overfeed them of what's happening than underfeed them. And I think that's the two we're getting right from internal and external side. Can we always do external better? Can we get more points? We're probably not 100% there, but it's a work in progress. There's so many platforms to communicate, and people's expectation of reading things are different from other people. So it's a little bit complicated, but we put a lot of energy in that, in external and internal.
Henk, I mentioned a little bit earlier sort of wider societal challenges, given it's an election year in South Africa, lots of change. as a possibility, this idea of change being constant, but maybe coming to a focus, especially in South Africa this year, that sort of phenomenon of change always on the go. How do you maybe navigate that in your organization, deal with the fact that things are always changing? That's the one constant.
Yeah, that's this business, you always get the excitement that there's always something happening somewhere. Um, and you just need to gear for that. I always say to the guys, look at the worst scenario, um, what can happen, and you build back from that worst scenario and just be prepared. Will you always be 100% prepared? I don't think we will. If you look at the looting when we had that a couple of years back, nobody was prepared for that. But it's how quickly you adapt, how quickly you change, and how quickly you get on top of that problem that works. But yeah, we measure stuff. We know elections coming up. We know there's certain criteria coming in. We actually build relationships with a lot of the other companies because on the end of the day, that size of incident or that size of event happening, one guy's not going to make it. It's all of us working together and standing together. And yeah, that's how we look at it, and that's how we build it up. But we always prep for the worst case scenario, and then we just build back onto that.
Henk, the element of problem solving. You can have major problems, you can have small day-to-day problems. It might be different depending on the department. Um, is there an argument to be made for having a system in place for problem solving, or is it better to sort of address problems as they arise? Or do you think I'm being a bit reductionist and it could be both or something else that I'm not considering? Sort of this phenomenon of problem solving.
Yeah. Problem solving in our business are always, it's like you say, you get the small day-to-day ones. We work with people. We distribute quite a lot of information to people in that, and there's always a risk. Our client base is big. There's a lot of factors that implement certain things that happen during the course of the day, and small stuff like load shedding. Those are things that fix it, but those are stuff that you plan around. You work them day by day. It's small stuff in that. Yeah, major things. We got quite a nice system in place where we gear ourselves for bigger events. I'm talking about big things would be like, when we're involved in massive shootouts and those type of stuff. So those are sort of the biggest size problems we'll get. And then, yeah, we just work around that. We've got systems in place. We've got people that's trained to handle certain stuff. And then you take it as it comes. There's a lot of the stuff you can prep yourself because you're doing the same thing day to day. So your risk of getting the same thing wrong is easier because it's always the same thing. But yeah, the biggest stuff is you just take it as it comes. We've got some well-experienced guys in our business, been around for quite a long time. And yeah, we all quite get good enough to handle that.
Just a question around sort of motivations, and I guess also here the important thing is that maybe for yourself, for your employees, people can, in their sort of day-to-day work, levels of motivation can fluctuate. But I guess always getting people to pitch up on the day to realize this is their job. It's important, especially, of course, with the work that you do, how important it is for your clients that your staff are on the ball, that they realize that there's buy-in. How do you motivate people in that particular regard? I'm guessing there's many different ways to get people bought in and to get them motivated to come and give 110% every day.
Yeah, our focus point on our response and control room side is always higher than the internal side of the business because that's where the difference gets made. And we always send this message to the staff, and that's what I always tell them. You always work with people's lives. Our business is life driven. There's nothing different around it. Yes, a client can lose his car. He might lose some of his belongings when they break in because of the time factors, everything that. But we must always remember that we're talking about people's lives. And those clients build their trust in us to protect them and their property to the best of our ability in it. And we always try and drive that message out there. And I've always said to the guys internal, the admin side, everything, and I said, even if you're just working datas or processing, whatever that, you make a difference for that client too. Because if you don't get the right address in or you don't get the right information in and that, the guy down on the field can't deliver what he's supposed to deliver. So you always try and move these guys around and say, I think the nice thing about our business, there's always somebody internal that picks up the other one. And I'll sometimes get to the office and I'm like, just it's a bad morning. It's just not like you're like just not really in the mood for this. And then some even my secretary will pick it up, or one of my other directors will pick it up in it, and they change the environment. And by lunchtime, you're all good to go again, and we all move it. So I think that's a nice thing about our business and our culture is like there's always somebody that's picking up the other one and making sure we got this nice balance in it.
Henk, a bit of a maybe too wide question, so please feel free to give it a bit of focus, but a question around innovation and always, like, is pushing maybe the envelope. I mean, you talked about earlier, we talked about you now putting in sort of new kinds of cameras using AI. That's one that jumps out very much for your particular business and in your industry. But other elements of elevation, how do you ensure innovation? How do you ensure innovation is always, I guess, at the forefront in your company?
Yeah, listen, Chris, we got quite a few stuff we test for innovation. And I think that's the crucial thing is to test it and find the right thing in it. I keep tabs quite a lot what happens in overseas market and in other countries and that because there's a lot of guys that spends a lot of energy in there and I think part of innovation, drones is becoming a big thing. We're really spending some time and energy around that. I think our laws are still prohibiting us, and I don't think the SAP has really got into the nuts and grits of where we are, drones and that, but that's probably the next big thing, especially with us doing community street surveillance. You got some smart technology in those cameras or those drones that can follow people, highlight things, they see things we don't see easy. So it's really something we're working on. Yeah, we got a couple of other stuff, what does it look like from tracking people, tracking your family, certain devices that can help you find out where everybody is. You got a lot of stuff around like WhatsApp you can track, or you got a little GPS, but the guys know that stuff and they always get around it. You're trying to find stuff that's not bypassable around those things. So yeah, we're always scratching around the stuff. I look at things we're testing now. You get CCTV. It's so smart that it can actually replace an alarm. So the voice false alarms, it will tell you when somebody walks in your house. You get a signal or you get a message on your phone. Smart. It's all these smart stuff that's just coming through all the time. Right?
A bit of a combo question or item just around trustworthiness and linked to your brand and the brand of Henk, but also the brand of Blue Security. I guess when one has built up a good brand and trustworthiness, both internally and externally, maybe some companies will take it for granted and they think it's always going to be there. But how do you ensure that that continues, and how do you build up that level of trustworthiness, both again internally and then also with your customers, that they associate that trustworthiness with Blue Security?
Yeah, I think for myself, so internally is you're right. You get a big hit quickly, and a brand runs away with you quickly. And my focus is always to get the team to stay on the earth, stay flat-footed, and don't get big shot around that. Yeah, we do some good stuff in that. We got a good brand. We can see it out of our surveys and our results coming back. A lot of clients ticking box in it, a lot of positive stuff in that. No, we do get it wrong. We're not 100%. We're not solid. But whatever we get wrong, we take that, we relook at it, we digest it, see where it is. And I think, I've got a department that just focuses on all our queries or complaints or concerns that comes in. And we actually digest that every week and say, okay, where are we with this? What is that? Because I think when you see that stuff and you get exposed to it, you actually realize like, yeah, I'm good, but there's a lot of room for improvement. And I think if you put that two together, you won't have guys that gets big-headed and saying I'm bulletproof. And that's where it comes like a...
Henk, coming towards the tail end of our conversation today, a question around acknowledging your team and when that good work is done, the importance of acknowledging individuals or particular units, maybe managers, but also to the very, I guess, bottom end. Any ideas and recommendations there around making sure that that acknowledgement is not just monitored, but also then put forward to those employees so that they realize, yeah, others within the organization realize that I'm doing a good job?
Yeah, we got good innovation scheme internally. We promote people quite a lot. I think the last 2 years was a bit tough for the business because we had to reshape a little bit and we tested new things and tried new things. And people don't like change. As human beings, we get set in our pathways and in our journeys. And when somebody sort of, changes a bend into your road, then everything goes a little bit pear-shaped. But we get, it's how you work and how you manage it. For me, I've always believed, have good people in your team that can see the vision, can drive the business, know where we're going. And I think if you get that right, that in the right space. I've got some phenomenal guys working around me. We all got our challenges. It's like I said before, we're not perfect, but we make it happen. It's where we go in that, and they've been around for quite a while. And they always, I always give them the recognition for it. I always tell guys in the business, it's not me. It's not the technical director. It's not the operation director. It's not the commercial director. And I said, it's us as a business. We don't talk about ourselves. We talk about the team. Because, we just give direction, we evaluate. But the guys on the bottom, they're the guys that does the work, carry the business, drive it through. So, and as long as we can understand it's about the team and one business, and not individually, we're all in a good space.
Henk, a final question, and again, quite a broad one. So depending on you and the business and how you might want to sort of tackle it, but do you have any specific message or maybe takeaway for both business leaders in South Africa and in Africa, but also for government? And the context here again, a year of change, a year of things being uncertain. We're not sure how things are going to look after the 29th of May. But I think within that uncertainty, there is lots of scope for opportunity for things to change in expected and unexpected ways. Is there anything in particular that you want to impart in that regard?
Yeah, I think on the end of the day, we all here to make a change, and it's not about us and not about our size. It's about protecting the people and making the community safer. I think that's our focus point. And I know a lot of guys, and I know some of the other comes quite well, and there's a lot of guys putting a lot of energy and effort into that. And we got some good guys in SAPS. There's some good guys contributing. There's some good guys making a change. There's still guys there that wears that badge on their sleeve. They like pumped up. They want to make a difference. Anything that, and my message would be is like, we can make a difference. We've got the people, we've got the knowledge, we've got the infrastructures, we've got the technology. We're all eager to get involved and change that, everything that, and there's room for everybody moving it. And everybody, that we just need to have that open discussion, that open space to say, how do we move into that space to make it a safer place? And don't just put us on the sideline and say, you worry about sideline, we'll worry about the game. And I think if we can get that right, we're all in a good space. Then we make a difference. That's what we want to do. We make a difference. We're always there to make money. Any business wants to make money, but our hearts is to make the difference. Let's just get going and let's do that. Take away the red tape and sort your politics on a separate field out. Let's get to our community and let's make the difference.
I think no better note on which to end. Henk from Blue Security, thank you very much.
Awesome. Chris, thank you very much, man.